My name is Evan Carter. I was born in Maine, raised in the Adirondacks, and I've spent the better part of my adult life in the wilderness, tracking wildlife, studying predator behavior, learning how ecosystems work when humans aren't around to mess with them. I guess you could say I was good at being alone. But no matter how far you go into the wild, you never expect to find something that doesn't belong in any ecosystem, something that isn't supposed to exist. This all happened last October in northern Ontario, near a forgotten patch of land called Hollow River. It's not even officially part of the national park system, though it borders Hollow River Provincial Park. Most maps barely show it. There are no marked trails, and the local ranger station was shuttered years ago. People say it's haunted. I don't believe in that sort of thing, or at least I didn't. Now I'm not so sure. Chapter 1. Into the Trees. It started with the disappearance of a hiker named Neil Durand. His story barely made the news, just a couple of lines in a local paper. But I caught wind of it through a wildlife forum. His camp had been found in tatters, his gear torn apart, tent shredded like tissue paper. No signs of struggle, no blood. I should have left it alone. But something about it stuck with me. That whole region had been the site of at least 7 other disappearances over the last decade, all of them within a 10-mile radius of Hollow River. Hunters, hikers, even a park warden. Each time, the same result: no body, no real trace. And the locals? They stopped going out there years ago. They had a name for it. The Whisper Woods. They say you don't hear it at first, but if you stay long enough, it hears you. I decided to investigate. Not officially. This wasn't part of any grant or field study. Just me, my gear, a satellite phone, and a growing curiosity that felt more like obsession. I told my team I'd be unreachable for a few days. No one argued. I'd done it before. I arrived at the edge of Hollow River on October 17th. The forest was dead quiet, the kind of silence that hums in your ears. Fog hugged the tree line like a second skin. It was thick, unnatural even. I remember thinking, this feels wrong, but I ignored it. That was my first mistake. Chapter 2. The first 3 nights, day 1. I hiked 10 miles in and set up a small camp near a dried-up riverbed. I laid camera traps, took soil samples, and scouted for signs of predators. Found nothing unusual. No bear scat, no tracks, no movement at all. That night, the fog got thicker. It rolled in over the trees like smoke from a fire that never ended. By midnight, I started hearing distant tapping, soft, rhythmic, like someone gently knocking on a hollow log over and over again. Then it stopped. I chalked it up to the wind, but there was no wind. Day 2, I woke to find the forest deathly still again, but something was off. My backpack had been moved, just slightly, maybe an inch or 2 from where I'd left it. Same with my boots, same with my rifle. I checked the camera traps. One was gone, not damaged, just missing. I spent the day trying to rationalize it. Maybe I moved them and forgot. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the fog was messing with my sense of space. The human brain isn't built for this kind of sensory deprivation. That night, it came closer. I heard breathing outside my tent. Deep, steady. Not quite human, not quite animal, and then a voice. Just one word. Stay. Day 3. I didn't sleep. I broke camp early and tried to head back to the trailhead, but I couldn't find it. No markers, no GPS signal. My compass spun like a toy. I'd been hiking trails for 15 years. I don't get lost, unless something wants me lost. Chapter 3. The Things We Don't See. I wandered in circles for hours. The fog swallowed everything. The trees all looked the same. Tall, black, ancient. I thought I saw shadows moving between them, but every time I looked directly, there was nothing there. By evening, I gave up. I built another fire and huddled beside it with my rifle in my lap. The air was colder than it should have been, and the silence. It started to hum. Then I heard something snap, a branch. Close. I turned, and there it was, at the edge of the firelight. Tall, thin. Wrong. It wasn't just tall, it was disproportionately tall. Its arms dangled past its knees. It had no visible eyes, just empty sockets that somehow still stared back at me, and its mouth, wide, smiling, no lips, no teeth, just a dark, gaping grin. It didn't move like a creature. It moved like an idea, like it didn't need to follow the rules of flesh. I fired once, then again. It didn't flinch. Instead, it opened its mouth and whispered, "You are seen." Then it vanished. Chapter 4. The Others. The next day, I found the trap camera. It had been placed carefully in a tree, 20 feet above the ground, facing downward. There was new footage. I played it back. At first, just trees, fog, nothing unusual. Then something moved below the camera, too fast to see clearly. Then another, and another. Dozens. Tall figures weaving between trees. Not quite solid, like smoke in humanoid form. One stopped and looked up, directly into the lens. Its eyes were empty, but I swear it knew me. Knew I would watch. And it smiled. That night, I was surrounded. I could hear them just outside the ring of firelight. They didn't talk, didn't howl. They whispered. To each other. To me. "You stayed too long. You saw. You are part of it now." I screamed until my throat bled. And in the distance, I heard someone scream back. Not an echo. Someone else. Chapter 5. The Other Survivor. I found him the next morning. A man, mid-30s, gaunt, eyes sunken, barefoot and shivering. He said his name was Joseph. He'd come out here 6 months ago to find his missing brother. Hadn't seen another soul since. "I thought I was dead," he said. "Maybe I am." I asked if he'd seen them. He didn't answer, just nodded slowly and whispered, "They only hunt what remembers." We traveled together for 3 days, or what felt like 3 days. The sun never rose, the fog never left, and the forest kept changing. Trees shifted positions, landmarks vanished. We marked a rock with chalk. Next day, it was gone. At one point, we walked in a straight line for 2 hours and ended up back at the same creek bed. It wasn't a forest anymore. It was a cage. Chapter 6. The Revelation. Joseph told me about the legend, something the locals called the hollow kin, creatures that live between the real and the unreal, drawn to memory, to guilt, to pain. He said they feed on awareness. The longer you acknowledge them, the more real they become. They want you to know, he said, because once you know, you can't unsee them. We tried not to speak of them, not to name them, but that night they came again. And Joseph, he walked into the fog. He said he had to, that they had his brother's voice. He was gone before I could stop him. Chapter 7. Escape. I was alone again. I ran. No food, no sleep, just adrenaline. The forest bled into itself. Day and night stopped mattering. Then I saw it, the trailhead. Real, solid. My car still parked there, but behind me, I heard the tapping, software rhythmic, closer. I didn't look back. I got in the car, started it, drove until the fog was just a memory. Chapter 8. Aftermath. I was gone for 3 weeks, but to me, it felt like 6 days. The footage from my camera traps was corrupted, except one clip. It shows me, standing in the woods, looking up, smiling. But I don't remember that. I've had nightmares ever since. Sometimes I hear tapping on my window. Sometimes I hear whispering in the static when my TV loses signal. I don't go into the woods anymore. I don't research wildlife, and I never, ever talk about Hollow River. Until now. Chapter 9. One last thing. Last night, a package arrived at my door. No label. Inside, a single cassette tape. I played it. White noise for a full minute. Then, a voice. My voice, saying, "It's not done with me." Then laughter. Then silence. There's a stretch of forest about 20 miles west of town that the locals just don't talk about. It's not on any tourist map. No trail signs, no markings, just dense pine, swampland, and silence. People call it dead pines. Growing up, my grandfather used to tell me never to go near it. Said animals disappeared there. People too, sometimes. He didn't smile when he said it. It wasn't a warning told to keep a kid from getting lost. It felt heavier, like he believed something was waiting in those woods. I never believed any of it. Not until the night we went out there looking for a missing hiker. It was early October, cold enough that your breath hung in the air, but not enough snow yet to cover up the ground. I was part of a volunteer search and rescue team, just a few of us, locals who knew the terrain better than the GPS ever would. The missing man's name was Tom Keller, 32, experienced camper. Left a note for his wife saying he'd be hiking solo through Bear Creek Trail and should be home by Sunday night. By Monday morning, he wasn't answering his phone. By Monday night, we found his car parked just off the road. But the weird part? The car was unlocked. Keys in the ignition, camping gear in the trunk, untouched, like he'd meant to start the hike, but never did. Except we found footprints leading away from the car and directly toward dead pines. I remember standing there with my flashlight pointed at those trees, feeling this strange weight press down on my chest. Like the silence in the woods wasn't just absence of sound, it was something alive. We split into two teams. I went with Maria and James, two people I trusted with my life. We followed the tracks through the brush and into the dense thicket. The deeper we went, the quieter it got. No birds, no wind. Even the crunch of our boots on the underbrush felt muffled. After about an hour, Maria stopped dead in her tracks. She was looking at something just off the path. A shredded flannel shirt caught on a branch. Blood on the sleeve. Not much, but enough to set my nerves on edge. "Tom," James called out. Nothing. Then the smell hit us, like rotting meat left out in the sun, but thicker, sharper, like it was alive somehow, crawling into your nose and sitting there. Maria covered her mouth. I turned in a slow circle with the flashlight, scanning the trees. Then we saw it. Something tall, half hidden behind the pines, just far enough away you couldn't see its face. Just enough moonlight to make out the outline. 7 feet, maybe more. Thin. Long arms that didn't hang right. Like the joints were all reversed. It stepped behind the tree, then vanished like smoke. I wanted to run, but James whispered, "We have to find Tom." I whispered back, "If he saw that, he's not alive." We pressed forward anyway. God help us. Another 20 minutes in, we came to a small clearing, and that's when we found the campsite. But it wasn't Tom's. There were bones, picked clean, arranged in a spiral around the remains of a fire pit. Old, weathered, not just animal bones either. Some of them looked human. James was already backing up, saying we should call it in, but Maria stepped closer. That's when she found the voice recorder, a little handheld thing, half buried in the ash. She hit play. The recording was scratchy, like wind over a microphone. Then came a voice, panicked, whispering, "If you find this, don't stay after dark. It sounds like your voice. Don't follow it. Don't look into its eyes." Then a screech, so loud it blew out the speaker. And behind us, in the woods, we heard James's voice. Except James was standing right next to us, and whatever was calling was coming closer. The voice was unmistakable. "Guys! Over here!" It was James's voice, same tone, same rhythm, coming from the trees behind us. But James was standing right next to me. I turned to look at him, and the blood had drained from his face. He shook his head slowly, whispering, "That's not me." The voice came again. Closer. "Come on." I found something. But now it was wrong. Office. Like someone doing a good impression, but forgetting how human emotion works. Too cheerful. Too smooth. Maria dropped the recorder and backed toward us. "What the hell is that?" We didn't answer. We just started running. Branches clawed at our jackets. Roots grabbed at our boots. Every few seconds we'd hear that voice again, always from somewhere just behind us. "Wait up! Don't leave me." But we didn't stop. Not even when James tripped and scraped his arm open on a rock. He just got up and kept running, like his life depended on it. Because it did. After what felt like hours, we broke through the trees into another clearing. There, we finally stopped to catch our breath. My heart was pounding so hard, it felt like it might burst. And that's when Maria noticed it. The trees around the clearing were the same ones from before. The spiraled bones. The burned-out fire pit. We had run in a circle, but that made no sense. We hadn't turned back. We had run in a straight line. I looked up and realized something else. The moon was in the exact same spot it had been earlier. No movement, no shift in light. It was like time had stopped. James muttered, "This isn't real. None of this is real." But it was. The cold was real. The smell was real. The fear was very, very real. Then we heard footsteps. Not crashing through the brush. Not rushing. Slow, deliberate, crunching leaves, one at a time, coming toward us from the dark. James lifted his flashlight and aimed it at the trees, and for just a second we saw it, not hiding this time, standing just beyond the light. It looked like a man, but it wasn't. The proportions were off, limbs too long, neck too thin, skin the color of ash, stretched too tightly over its frame, and the eyes, God, the eyes! They weren't eyes at all, just dark, sunken voids, like someone had hollowed out its face, and it smiled, with too many teeth. James froze. His light started to shake. Maria grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "Don't run." "I think it wants us to." Then the thing tilted its head and said, in my voice, "Don't run." I felt something break inside me. Instinct took over. I turned and ran, pulling Maria with me. James didn't move at first, but then he shouted and followed. We didn't stop until we saw actual lights, the blinking red and blue of a search and rescue quad bike. Another team had circled back and found us just as we were reaching the logging road. We collapsed by the vehicle, gasping, trying to explain what happened. They thought we were in shock. Maybe we were. They airlifted us out the next morning. Maria didn't speak on the ride home. James wouldn't sleep for 2 days. They never found Tom Keller. All they found was his boot, half buried in the moss, nearly a mile from the clearing. And no one ever went back to Dead Pines again. At least, not officially. But sometimes, at night, I still hear it. My own voice, calling from the woods outside my house, whispering to come back. My name is Elias Granger. I'm what people might call an independent folklorist, though I prefer archivist. I collect records, testimonies, old tapes, reports that were never filed, stories passed down but never written. I've spent the last decade chasing whispers. From the Ridgewood Howler to the Nevada Shadow Crawler, I've built a living out of documenting what others pretend isn't real. 3 months ago, I received a package with no return address. Inside was a USB stick, an old burned CD, and a small manila envelope that simply read, "Dead Pines, 2025. Don't go alone." I didn't recognize the handwriting. The USB contained 2 files, one labeled SAR Logs Missing. TomKeller.wav, a rough field recording from some search and rescue volunteers. 3 voices. One male voice clearly panicked, referencing something tall, humanoid, and unnatural in the woods. The audio ends with a shriek and silence. No timestamp, no GPS metadata, just raw terror. I tried running it through software to isolate the environmental noise, match the location maybe, but something kept triggering the software's anomaly detection filter, like there was a 4th voice layered in the background. Unregistered, distorted, almost submerged. My software crashed twice trying to isolate it. The CD was worse. It was a video file, shaky, handheld, possibly from a camcorder. It showed what looked like a ruined campsite in the middle of the forest, scattered bones arranged in deliberate spirals. No talking, just wind and the sound of something moving in the trees. And then, near the end of the footage, the camera turned briefly and caught a frame of a figure just at the edge of the woods. Thin, pale, staring. No facial details. No movement. But the timestamp kept flickering as if something was interfering with the file. I went digging, found 2 names from the SAR recording, Maria Ortega and James Holloway. James refused to speak to me, told me never to call again. Maria, on the other hand, agreed to meet me, but only in public, and only for 15 minutes. We met in a cafe near the edge of town. She looked tired, eyes sunken. She hadn't slept well in months. When I mentioned dead pines, she flinched like I'd slapped her. I left that part of my life behind, she said. But whatever was in those woods, it's not bound to one place. What do you mean? Maria lowered her voice and leaned in. It follows. Not physically, but like it leaves a mark on you. Makes you see things, hear things in familiar voices. She glanced over her shoulder. I hear my brother calling my name sometimes. He died 5 years ago. That thing, it's like it knows what pain sounds like, and it wears it like a mask. Before she left, she pressed something into my hand, a torn map of the woods marked with a red circle. She whispered, "Don't trust what you see. Don't follow the voices. And whatever you do, don't look it in the eyes." That was 2 weeks ago. And yesterday, I entered Dead Pines. I brought cameras, a satellite phone, a body cam with infrared mode, a compass, analog backups. I'm not stupid, but none of it mattered. The moment I passed the threshold of those trees, my compass spun like a coin, and the GPS froze. And the silence? It wasn't just the absence of noise. It was like the forest itself was waiting. I walked for 2 hours before I found the clearing. Bones, spiral pattern. Still there, as if time never moved since that recording. I checked my watch. It had stopped at 3:33 p.m. I was setting up my first camera when I heard it. A woman's voice. Faint. From deeper in the forest. "Elias, help me." It sounded exactly like my sister. But she's in Toronto. Alive. Safe. Still, something in me wanted to run toward it, but I remembered Maria's words. Don't trust what you see. Don't follow the voices. So I stayed rooted in place, sat down, closed my eyes, and then something stood directly behind me. No footsteps, no approach, just sudden, massive pressure. A presence pressing down on the air around me. I could hear it breathing. Wet, ragged, shallow. Then it whispered in my voice. "You already looked. You just don't remember." I don't know how long I stayed frozen like that. When I opened my eyes, it was gone. And my camera, the one I had placed on the log, was gone too. But something had been left in its place. A journal, water-stained, old. Inside were handwritten notes. They weren't mine. But the name on the inside cover chilled my blood. Thomas Keller. He had been here, survived long enough to write. The last page simply read, "You don't leave the pines. It leaves with you." I'm not leaving. Not yet. This thing, it isn't just a cryptid. It's something older. A shape, a shadow, an echo that attaches itself to grief, to guilt. It mimics what hurts us the most. I'm going to find it. And if you're hearing this recording, if I didn't make it out, burn the map. And don't answer the voices. It's been 41 hours since I crossed into Dead Pines. The forest no longer follows the rules of the natural world. I don't sleep, I don't eat. But I'm not tired. I'm not hungry. Time has broken here, peeled away from the rest of the world like rotted bark. My watch still reads 3:33 p.m. Every time I try to leave, I end up back at the spiral clearing. It's like the forest won't let me go until it's done with me. Last night, or what passes for night in this place, I camped near a dry creek bed, using moss and rock walls as cover. I lit no fire. I've learned that light draws it. Around what should have been midnight, I heard my own voice calling from deeper in the trees. Calm, steady. "Elias, come see. You've almost found it." It's learning. No more mimicry of loved ones, no more screams. Now it sounds just like me. I stayed perfectly still, didn't speak, but I recorded the entire thing, and when I played it back, there was nothing. just static and silence, like the forest itself erases proof of what happens here. Then I found the hollow grove. It was around midday. The trees began to change, taller, older, their bark pitch black, their trunks hollowed out like giant flutes. Wind whistled through them in long, low tones like distant moaning. They formed a perfect circle. 31 trees, each hollow just big enough to fit a human body inside, and inside some of them, there were bodies. Old, desiccated, folded unnaturally into the trunks. Some wore old hiking packs, tattered jeans. One still had a boot with the initials TK burned into the heel. Thomas Keller. I stepped forward, heart pounding, and found the journal I had recovered earlier vibrating inside my pack, trembling like it was reacting to the place. When I opened it this time, a page that had been blank now had fresh writing. This is its nest. Where it feeds. Where it becomes. That's when I saw the figures. Just beyond the tree ring, standing motionless in the fog. 3 of them. Human-shaped. Watching. I raised my flashlight, but the beam barely touched them. It just passed through. And then slowly, they stepped forward. One wore a faded yellow raincoat. A little girl's, maybe. Another was in search and rescue red, and the third looked just like me. Same jacket, same face. It raised its hand and pointed behind me. I turned, and the hollow tree directly behind me was breathing. The bark moved in and out, slow and deep, like the rise and fall of a chest. From within came a voice, low, ancient, whispering from every direction at once. You have seen me now. You are part of me. Let go. Step inside. Join the roots. The bark peeled back. There was something inside the tree, a shape that looked like a person, but it wasn't. Its head was tilted like a question. Its arms bent backward. Its mouth was a split down the middle, running all the way to the collarbone. It was smiling, and I felt it then. Not just fear, but understanding. This thing isn't just a predator. It's a collector of faces, of voices, of grief. It waits in pain-rich places, places soaked with memory and silence, and lures people in, one by one, feeding, changing, mimicking, becoming. I snapped a photo. It didn't show up in the picture, but something else did. Behind me, in the photograph, was myself, standing at the edge of the grove, staring into the hollow tree. Except I hadn't moved. I backed away, slowly. My double remained still, eyes empty. Then it spoke. You're already gone, Elias. The body just hasn't figured it out yet. I ran. I don't know how long. I just know I didn't stop until I hit the clearing again. The spiral was still there, but now, at the center, lay something new. A tape recorder, with my voice already recorded on it. I haven't played it yet. I don't know if I ever will, but I've realized something. The only way to kill this thing might be to trap it in story, in record, in truth. It thrives in secrecy, in forgotten places. But if I expose it, maybe that's how it ends. Maybe. But I'm not leaving yet, because the journal, Tom's journal, had one last message appear at the very bottom. She's still alive. The girl in the yellow coat. Find her. If I can find her, maybe I can save someone. Maybe I can still matter, even if the forest already owns me. I didn't sleep last night, or the night before, or the night before that. Time bends in dead pines, but I feel the weight of each hour like stones around my neck. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how long I've been here. My fingernails are cracked, dirt-packed. My hands shake. Not from hunger. I haven't felt hunger since the second day, but from something deeper, some slow unraveling of what used to be me. But I still remember her, the girl in the yellow coat. She couldn't have been more than 10 when she vanished. Her name was Lucy Winther, according to a newspaper clipping I found tucked in Keller's journal, reported missing in 2013 during a family hike. The case went cold after her coat was found near the roots of a black pine with no footprints around it. Not even hers. That's who the figure was in the hollow grove. That's who I saw. And I have to believe she's still here, still alive, because the alternative, that this thing has her soul, her voice, her shape, I'm not ready to accept that. Not yet. Today, I left the clearing and followed the trail east. Not a real trail, just a pull, like a current under the surface of the forest that drags you where it wants you to go. And as I moved, I noticed the trees were changing again. The bark was covered in scratches, not animal marks, words, desperate carvings in different languages, different depths, as if made by hundreds of hands over decades. One stood out. I'm still here, etched over and over. Same hand, same panic, and beneath that, a single line. I hear her humming. I stopped, closed my eyes, listened, and I heard it, faint, drifting through the trees like dust in a beam of light, a soft, innocent hum, like a lullaby, looping, the same tune over and over again. I followed it for miles, or maybe only minutes. Time means nothing now. Then I found the playground. Yes, a playground. Deep in the woods. Rusting swings, a half-buried slide, a seesaw grown through with roots, all covered in moss and vines, as if nature was trying to erase it. Sitting at the center, facing away from me, was the girl in the yellow coat. She hummed to herself, slowly rocking back and forth on a swing that no longer moved on its own. It creaked with every motion. A wind that hadn't existed a moment ago passed through the clearing. I stepped closer. "Lucy?" I whispered. She stopped humming. She didn't turn around. "Lucy, my name is Elias. I'm here to help." Then she spoke, still not facing me. Her voice small, tired. "It wears faces." My skin prickled. She continued, voice barely above the wind. "It made my mommy call me from the trees. I ran to her. But it wasn't her. It was empty inside." I felt tears burning my eyes. "I know. I've seen it too." She shook her head gently. "You haven't seen it yet. Not the real one. You've only seen the masks." She slowly turned, and I saw her face. Her skin was pale and thin. Her eyes were sunken, not lifeless, but aged. Like she had seen centuries pass in that forest. And there was something else. A thin, dark root wrapped tightly around her ankle, leading into the ground. "It won't let me go," she whispered. "It grows in me now." I dropped to my knees beside her. I pulled at the root, but it moved, slithered deeper into the soil like a living parasite. And then I heard it. Behind me. My own voice, close enough to feel breath on the back of my neck. "Elias, that's enough." I turned fast, flashlight up, but there was nothing, just trees, shifting, rearranging themselves as they had before. Lucy grabbed my wrist. "If you want to stop it, you have to go to the heart." "The center? Where?" She looked past me, eyes clouded. "It's beneath the hollow tree that bleeds. That's where it first came through. That's where it feeds." My voice returned again, this time warped, like it was coming through a rusted speaker. "Don't go, Elias. You're not ready. You'll lose everything." I looked back down at Lucy. "How do I save you?" She looked sad. "You can't. Not anymore." Then she smiled, small, real, and whispered, "But you can keep it from taking anyone else." And just like that, the swing creaked, and she was gone. The root snapped backward like a recoiling serpent and vanished into the earth. Only her yellow coat remained, folded neatly on the swing. The humming had stopped. I'm heading for the heart now. I've found the tree that bleeds. It's ahead of me, and the earth is red beneath it. The bark leaks something dark and pulsing, something that isn't sap. I don't know what I'll find inside, or if I'll come back out, but I'll leave this tape here. And if someone finds it, you'll know I went willingly, because if I can't kill it, then I'll bury myself with it. The tree is massive, wider than any redwood, taller than the canopy itself, though its trunk vanishes into the mist above like it never ends. Its bark is grey-black, with deep vertical splits that leak a thick, reddish-black sap. Not sap, not really. It smells like rust, like something long dead. I circle it once. There are no markings, no carvings, but my body feels like it's being pulled, like gravity bends differently around this place. Then I see it. At the base of the trunk, almost hidden behind moss and twisted root, is a hollow, large enough to crawl into. There's no light beyond the threshold, only a thick, pulsating darkness that seems to breathe outward, slow and steady. The forest behind me goes quiet, not just silent, dead. No wind, no movement, the stillness of a grave. I kneel at the entrance and press my hand against the inside wall. It's warm and it's beating. I don't bring a light. I don't want it to see me coming. I crawl in. The tunnel curves downward at an impossible angle, winding deep into the earth. The walls are soft, almost spongy, lined with roots and twitching tendrils that retreat at my touch. The sound of my breath is deafening in the tight space. Behind me, the entrance seals, not with sound, but with pressure, like being swallowed. After what feels like miles, the tunnel opens into a chamber, a vast, hollow space beneath the forest, too wide to see the edges. The ceiling is alive, pulsing with veins that stretch like spider webs, feeding into a central mass suspended above the ground by hundreds of cords. The heart. It hangs, grotesque and glistening, a swollen black and red bulb the size of a house, throbbing with every beat. Beneath it, the ground is soaked in a liquid that reflects no light, like a pool of obsidian. All around the chamber stand statues, but they're not made of stone. They're people, dozens of them, bodies rooted into the ground, faces frozen in agony, eyes wide, mouths stretched open mid-scream, though no sound escapes. Their skin is ashen, veins dark, branches growing from their spines. They aren't dead. They're dreaming, trapped. One of them is Tom Keller. I recognize him from the photo I found. His eyes shift slightly as I pass, as if trying to focus, but he can't move. The forest has hollowed him out and replaced him with memory. And then it speaks, not aloud, inside me. A voice like breaking bones and weeping children, like the first scream of something just born. You bring yourself willingly. I try to respond. My throat is locked. You know what I am. You have always known. You wear grief. You carry the song. You are the door. A shape descends from the ceiling, not the heart, but something tethered to it. A figure, impossibly tall, with a shifting form. Every step it takes causes the statues to tremble. It doesn't mimic me. It doesn't need to anymore. It shows me memories instead. My sister, standing in the hospital the day our mother died. My father's last breath. The friend I failed to save during a fire when I was a teenager. And then, Lucy. Her eyes pleading, her voice fading. Each memory it pulls feeds into the heart above, pulsing stronger, faster. I realize now this thing feeds on unresolved grief, on pain too heavy to carry. It doesn't just hunt, it waits, it calls, it lures. And now it wants to become me, not by killing me, not even by copying me, by wearing me from the inside, becoming a new mask, a voice to call out through the trees. I'm losing myself. I feel it. My fingers are going numb. My skin is tightening. I see the roots winding around my legs, up into my chest. But I still have the journal, Tom's journal, and I still have the tape recorder. I hit record. My voice trembles, but I force it out. If you're hearing this, it means I didn't win. But I didn't let it take me. I came to the heart. I saw the truth. I'm leaving this recording here, buried in its stomach. Maybe one day it'll rot from the inside out. Maybe someone will find it. I take out my knife, drive it into my palm. Blood spills onto the ground, and the roots recoil. The creature snarls, not with rage, but with fear. Pain it doesn't understand. Pain I chose, and that's when I realize it only controls the pain it gives. But pain you make your own. Pain you accept, That's something it can't touch. I stand. The roots scream. The chamber shakes. The statues begin to hum, low and in harmony. The same lullaby Lucy once hummed. It's cracking. It's weakening. And I know what I have to do. I climb the root bridge toward the heart. Each step pulls my bones apart, but I keep moving. At the center, I press the recorder into the heart's pulsing mass, and I whisper, "Choke on the truth." Then everything goes white, and I fall. I fell, but I didn't hit the ground. I kept falling, and falling, into a place beneath places. Not blackness, not exactly. More like the absence of everything. Sound, time, even memory. There were voices, distant at first. Not screaming, not whispering, weeping. Not in fear, but in release. Like pain finally being let go. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a version of the forest I no longer recognized. It was dusk, but not dead pines dusk. Real dusk. Orange light filtered through green leaves. Birds sang softly overhead. A breeze kissed the back of my neck. No blood, no spirals, no mimicry. I looked down at my hands. They were clean. No roots, no dirt. The wounds on my palm were gone. I stood for a long while, breathing, waiting for it all to collapse again. But it didn't. Then I saw someone ahead, a little girl in a yellow coat, standing on a trail dappled with sunlight. She smiled, wide and bright, and waved. "Hi, Elias." Her voice wasn't ghostly, not distorted, just a child's voice, pure, alive. I stepped toward her, and the trees did not close in. The trail remained open, welcoming. "You saved them," she said. "Not all of them, but enough." "I don't understand." She pointed behind me, and I saw the heart, or what was left of it. A shattered bulb, ruptured at the seams, leaking a black liquid that no longer pulsed. The roots had curled inward, dead or dying. The walls of the chamber cracked and crumbling like an old tomb. "You didn't destroy it," she said, "but you broke its rhythm." Then she stepped closer and placed something in my hand. It was the recorder, the same one I had left buried in the heart, still running, still recording, except now. It had captured something else, the final scream of the creature, not as a predator, but as something wounded, not by violence, but by truth, by exposure, by choice, by a man who came not to escape pain, but to own it. "You're not dead," Lucy said, "but you don't belong here anymore." I looked around. "Then where do I go?" She smiled again, and for a moment the trees around us shimmered, and I heard every voice the creature had stolen returning. Not screaming, laughing, singing, weeping, living, released. Lucy took my hand and said, "Home." And when I blinked, I was lying in the dirt, outside the tree, back in the spiral clearing. The forest was still. Birds chirped overhead. Distant wind moved through the branches like breath finally exhaled. It was dawn. Real dawn. I stood up, every muscle aching. My pack was beside me. My journal was there. The recorder still in my hand. The spiral was gone. So was the tree. No hollow grove, no mimicry, no shadows. Just the forest. Quiet. Normal. I hiked out of dead pines by midday. This time the compass worked. The sun moved overhead. When I reached the edge, a breeze touched my face. Warm, real. And then I heard my own voice. Not the creature's. Not a mimic. Me. Recorded. From the tape. I hit play one last time, and I heard myself say, "If you're hearing this, I made it back. I don't know what I am anymore, but I'm not afraid. If this place ever breathes again, don't fight it with fire. Don't run. Don't scream. Walk toward it. Show it who you are. Let it see your wounds. Pain shared is pain undone. That's how you starve it. That's how you end it." I buried the recorder beneath the roots of the first tree I saw. A simple tree, ordinary, alive. I walked out of those woods and never looked back. But sometimes, at night, when I hear the wind moving through the pines, I swear it sounds like a lullaby. And I know I'm not the only one who made it out. Not everyone who enters dead pines is lost. Some of us come back, whole.